order in the court.
The founders of our nation considered habeas corpus the most fundamental of rights because it ensured that the executive branch could not hold people without cause. Since the founding of the U.S., the writ has been suspended on only 4 occasions, each for a brief period of time and each in territory that was an active combat zone. By compromising this core legal value and necessary protection against the executive branch, the MCA has eroded the very foundation of our legal and constitutional framework. If we do not defend the right to habeas corpus, we all lose. In Marbury v. Madison in 1803, the Supreme Court announced for the first time the principle that a court may declare an act of Congress void if it is inconsistent with the Constitution. William Marbury had been appointed a Justice of the Peace for the District of Columbia in the final hours of the Adams administration. When James Madison, Thomas Jefferson's Secretary of State, refused to deliver Marbury's commission, Marbury, joined by 3 other similarly situated appointees, petitioned for a writ of mandamus, compelling delivery of the commissions. Chief Justice John Marshall, writing from a unanimous court, denied the petition and refused to issue the writ. Although he found that the petitioners were entitled to their commissions, he held that the Constitution did not give the Supreme Court the power to issue writs of mandamus. Section 13 of the Judiciary Act of 1789 provided that such writs might be issued, but section of the Act was inconsistent with the Constitution and therefore invalid. Although the immediate effect of the decision was to deny power to the court, its long-run effect has been to increase the court's power by establishing the rule that it is emphatically the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is. Since Marbury v. Madison, the Supreme Court has been the final arbiter of the constitutionality of congressional legislation. Founded in 1866, the Ku Klux Klan, or the KKK, extended into almost every southern state by 1870 and became a vehicle for white Southern resistance to the Republican Party's Reconstruction-era policies aimed at establishing political and economic equality for blacks. Its members waged an underground campaign of intimidation and violence directed at white and black Republican leaders. Though Congress passed legislation designed to curb Klan terrorism, the organization saw its primary goal, the reestablishment of white supremacy, fulfilled through Democratic victories in state legislatures across the South in the 1870s. After a period of decline, white Protestant Navist groups revived the Klan in the early 20th century, burning crosses and staging rallies, parades, and marches denouncing immigrants, Catholics, Jews, blacks, and organized labor. The civil rights movement of the 1960s also saw a surge of the Ku Klux Klan activity, including bombings of black schools and churches and violence against black and white activists in the South. Belle Starr gained notoriety as an outlaw on the western edge of the United States in the mid-1800s. While she did consort with infamous characters, historians suggest her renegade reputation surpasses her actual criminal activity. In Texas, Belle began her lifelong pattern of associating with men of questionable character. In 1866, she met Cole Younger, a member of the James Younger gang that was gaining notoriety for a series of daring bank and train robberies. Rumor had it that Younger fathered Belle's first child, Pearl, though the father might have actually been another outlaw, Jim Reed. Regardless, Belle's relationship with Younger was short-lived, and in 1866 she became Reed's wife. Belle was apparently untroubled by her new husband's reputation, and she had become his partner in crime by 1869. She joined him in stealing cattle, horses, and money in the Dallas area, riding her mare, Venus, and sporting velvet skirts and plumed hats. Bell played the role of a bandit queen for several years.
I was a street cop, along the highways I did drive, radio and pistol by my side.
Doc Holliday is a figure from the Old West, a gunman and a gambler who was part of the legendary shootout at the OK Corral. John Henry Doc Holliday was born August 14, 1859. A dentist by trade, Holliday became an icon of the American West and was close friends with fellow gunslinger Wyatt Earp. They were the two most famous faces in what is regarded as the most legendary battle of the West, the gunfight at the OK Corral, which cemented Holliday's status as a legend. Wyatt Barry Stout Earp is born in Monmouth, Illinois. Wyatt helps a police officer in Wichita, Kansas, track down a thief who has stolen a wagon. He gains public acclaim for his involvement in catching the horse thief, the same crime he had been accused of years earlier. Wyatt subsequently becomes a policeman in Wichita, helping to keep the cowboys in line. Wyatt becomes deputy town marshal of Dodge City, Kansas. He travels there with Mattie Blaylock, a former prostitute. The two will become together until 1882.